What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Celio's Network. Today I am doing Meta Talk 3 with my friend and testing partner, John Sundstrom. Unfortunately, I'm still using my laptop and it's on its last leg, but I'm getting a new PC soon. But that doesn't mean I can't efficiently record John's video, so we're just having his audio on here. So, John, why don't you introduce yourself?
Well, like you said, I'm John Sundstrom. I'm part of Luke's testing group. We've tested with each other for a very long time. I'm I'm somewhat successful at this game.
Alright, John said it all. And how long you been playing, Sundstrom?
This is my 10th competitive season.
Nice. Okay. So Sundstrom has been playing Gardevoir a bit. Um, so John, why don't you tell me about your accomplishments with Gardevoir so far this season?
Well, pretty much it's the only deck I've played the entire season, and pretty much all but one event I've actually gotten points off of. It was like a League Cup I got 12th with. It was like 4-2.
Okay.
But otherwise, it's been second at a League Cup with it. I got top 64, 34th place with it
At Hartford.
at Hartford. Yeah. I won a league challenge with it, which yeah, big deal, whatever. And most recently, which is why we're here, I won a league cup with it. League cup that had roundabouts of 64 players in our division.
Yeah, and also I'll note that the League Cup was, like John said, 64 players, I think. And it was also in New Jersey, which is super competitive. So I usually take League Cup results from the North Jersey area, usually a lot heavier than I do other League Cup results. So congrats on that first place there. So at this League Cup that you got first at, and also at some other tournaments, you've been sticking with the Sylveon GX variant of Gardevoir. So why don't you tell me what you like about it over the 4 Max Potion Broken Vor version?
Okay, well, Sylveon as a card in general, it's a very solid card. For one, just EV energy evolution into Sylveon is already neat in itself, and then just one energy grabbing three cards, any three cards you want, no questions asked, not restricted, just Alolan Vulpix getting just two Pokemon. Just literally just magical ribbon, get your stuff, which usually results in them playing N or whatever, but that's like the same thing if you were playing Alolan Vulpix in the first place. But you know, with Sylveon, you're still spoiled for choice in a way where you can get three cards, you can just set up your plays, because I mean, it is a setup deck. It's still like a somewhat speedy deck in that regards, but it just helps you set up your pieces, helps you set up whatever. And then of course, well, I mean, Fairy Wind, just simple 110. It's good if your opponent's starting off slow or whatever. And I've gotten resistance with Fairy Wind on slower setups or whatever. And then of course, Plead GX is good against other in the mirror. It's good against other stage two decks. It crushes decks like Decidueye. It slows down like Metagross, which Metagross isn't really that popular anyway.
Yeah, yeah. Metagross is a really good part of why PleGX is good because it otherwise would be a terrible matchup. But PleGX makes you have a fighting chance.
Honestly, Metagross isn't even that good anyway.
Yeah, I don't like Metagross either.
Yeah, and like because for me it's like anyone who knows me knows that my deck building I like to just keep everything just consistent, straightforward, and to the point. I'm not really a fan of anything too fancy, and not to mention that if I'm playing the Broken War version or playing against it rather, it's neat because they're like stuck with their max potions in hand. Because I'm not really just going in there just for chip damage or whatever. I'm not looking to just two shot anything. Like no, I'm one shotting it,
Yeah,
which I usually like take my time with that anyway. It's not really the best idea to go completely aggro in that matchup to begin with.
hmm,
Which I've played against plenty of people who they try to go aggro against me and they end up like suffering because of it.
cool. So have you been playing a form of healing, even though you're not playing Broken Vor?
Well, the only like healing card I guess you'd say is Acerola. I just play a single copy of that.
Okay. Have you considered trying out Max Potion at all?
I've never had this. There's just not enough room. A lot of it is just like just keeping Gardevoir around because
Yeah.
there's plenty of just recursion with with I don't know if you have my list up there or not, but there's a Super Rod, Rescue Stretcher, Twilight GX, stuff like that. Like I'm
Yeah,
like
and like you said, you like to go
keep
for consistency.
just keeping the stream going, just keeping just straight up consistent deck. Just get Gardevoir out, do things with, and then hit things.
And you win.
Yeah, pretty much. And I had a thought, but I forget what it was. And like I said, like guys, I had like one round or whatever where I was playing against a Broken War, and like my opponent, he had these dead max potions in his hand, which he wasn't really able to use because I wasn't putting damage on his board or anything like that.
Right.
His dead hands, he couldn't like thin his hand out to use artillery, and he was kind of bricking in the first place. So he just had these dead cards in his hand because he knew like okay, this guy's gonna just be taking his time or whatever.
Hmm.
That's like the way to go about the matchup. Just take your time, because once knockouts start getting taken or whatever, they start going like
Yeah, it usually doesn't stop in the mirror match. It's usually knockout, knockout, knockout until the game's over.
yeah. It's just a matter of just keeping your board developed. Is also like having a well developed board goes in the long run.
Yeah, and Sylveon definitely helps with that a lot.
Yeah.
So, looking at the EUIC results and the results from Memphis, what is your opinion about these new Stage 1 decks? Like, we're seeing Zorak Gali and Zorak Lycanroc, and even Buzzwole Lycanroc, where Lycanroc has a good deal of the deck's strategy.
Okay. Now I think like my main opinion about those decks is and why they're so successful is being like just stage ones and basics where they're like inherently speedier or whatever. Like Zoroark is just a single double colorless gives you this nice attack and a nice ability. Like in Rock is the same thing, nice attack, nice ability,
Yep.
and it's quick. I mean, I'm not saying it's just like I still think it's all 50-50 or whatever. And in regards to Buzzwole, you know, that's like the main reason why I had Mr. Mime in the deck to begin with.
Hmm.
Because I mean, some people will probably debate like, "Oh, Mr. Mime's not that great; it's not going to matter anyway." But believe me, if you can shut down something as simple as damage spread, it goes a long way, especially against stuff like Tapu Koko and Buzzwole.
Yeah, stuff like that softens up your Gardevoirs and makes them kind of easy easy two hits instead of trying to go for that one shot. They kind of get the one shot because it's already softened up.
Yeah, and it's just a matter of you know, if they get like a few things of damage spread off, that really impacts everything in a long way.
Yeah, and you'll see in the we're kind of veering off the topic of the stage 1 decks, but you brought up a good point. You'll
Yeah.
see in the Broken Void list, they don't run Mr. Mime because they run Max Potion.
Yeah.
And they kind of Max Potion is kind of it's not there specifically for damage spread, but getting rid of damage spread is one of the uses. Whereas a lot of people running the Sylveon variant, like yourself, you're using Mr. Mime and you're just stopping the damage from ever being there, which you're just
Yeah.
preventing it instead of healing it away, which is
Yeah,
sometimes better.
yeah, and it's like knocking out a Buzzwole in the first place. That's not hard to begin with.
Yeah, because to do more than like 50, 60, 70 damage with their damage amplifiers, they need 3 energy. So 3
It's
energy
just,
on that means you're going to be knocking it out pretty easily with a Guardy.
yeah, and Mr. Mime in general just lets me still continue to play that conservative route.
Yep.
Because, I mean, they'd have to be pretty desperate to want to just, knock it out in the first place.
Hmm. Yeah, if they're wasting a Guzma to knock out the Mr. Mime, that's kind of putting you ahead
Waste
already.
waste a Lycanroc. It's like, hey, if you want to waste stuff, then go ahead.
Yep. Yeah, so I personally think that those decks they're doing really well because they're consistent.
Yeah.
But if you could also build Gardevoir much more consistently than the Broken Vor list, so I think I don't think Gardevoir is falling out of tier 1 just because we saw all these stage 1 decks. Do you think we're still going to be seeing Gardevoir at our League Cups in the next few weeks?
Yeah, I believe so. And, you know, yeah, we'll see Gardevoir. We'll see, a lot of what we saw in Memphis. Like, Memphis, I think, gave, like, a huge indicator of what we're going to see. I wouldn't be surprised also if Glycopod also saw a bit of a climb again, just because of all the Lycanroc going around.
Yeah, yeah. After the Golisopod got second place at Memphis, I do think people are going to be trying out Golisopod Garb again, because I know
Yeah.
people like the deck, but they kind of were just turned off because the community was saying it's not good anymore. But now we're seeing that it's still good because someone went ahead and they played a deck they thought was good and they did well with it.
Yeah, Azul, like, I think I agree with his deck choice, like, 100% on that. And that's why he made it as far, because pretty much, like, every round of the stream, even though, well, we only got the start at the fourth round,
Hmm.
they were just, they were liking rocks in all of them.
Yeah, yeah,
All like,
a lot of
Zor-
Lycanroc.
there was, yeah, like, Lycanroc, Zoroark, and Buzzwole, they were, like, the three cards you generally saw on the stream.
Hmm.
And they were all there. Even, like, the dude who was playing, like, the Shining Genesect deck, like, he made a fair choice there.
Hmm.
But that was just like, oh, that came out of the blue.
Yeah, but it was a. I don't know if he meta called that there would be a lot of Lycanroc or if he just went in with a deck he liked. But regardless, he had a lot of good matchups because of it.
You gotta say that's at least a meta call right there, just because, like, literally, like, is one of those regionals where there was a deck that was everywhere.
Hmm.
It was almost like the whole Drampa Garb thing all over again from Seattle last season,
Hmm.
where that was just, I didn't even want to
Yeah,
vomit.
that
This,
was
this, this
insane.
was more healthier, though.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things at Zorark. Zorark's helping Lycanroc be a viable deck, like the Zorark Lycanroc deck. I don't think Lycanroc would have been good with any other stage one.
Yeah, Lycanroc, like, in general, just its stock just rose tremendously just because of everything that's going around.
So, we were talking in one of our group chats the other day, and you were saying some stuff about what you think about going into a League Cup, and then what you think about going into a regionals. And I thought you had some really educated opinions on that. So I wanted to ask you, what is your mindset going into a League Cup, and how does that compare to your mindset going into a regionals?
Just trying to piece together everything I said. So yeah, going into like a League Cup, obviously it's smaller. You're playing like 9 times out of 10, it's best of one. I've seen some do best of three, but in general, it's like a best of one
Yeah,
with the a top cut being best of three,
yeah.
and it's just a matter of can this deck carry me from point A to point B successfully as far as League Cups go? Like, can it like get me like that game one win all the time?
Mm-hmm.
And then of course like regionals, they're their own species in itself. Where regionals, I've said this before. It's like, okay, you gotta have that mindset of I've got to play 9 rounds, plus 5 top cut rounds for day two, plus a top eight, and then it's always said like that's like the one thing about playing in a tournament that's beyond important is deck choice.
Mm-hmm.
Deck choice, and it's just all about taking everything into consideration of what's played, what works in what matchups, what doesn't, what you think is going to be seen. Like it's deck choice, deck choice, deck choice. Like that's essentially like the bread and butter of you know what's going on.
Yeah, yeah. Your deck choice. You can't be a great player and have a theme deck and get through regionals. But in the same sense, you can't be a beginner with a great deck and get through regionals either.
Really, like anybody, and I don't even net deck at all. Like
Yeah.
that's not. I mean, it's like what's the thing? It's like net decking's a thing, but it's like running like the exact 60 is not really ideal.
Yeah, because there's always going to be like it's easy. Like there are optimal lists that go around, but even with optimal lists, a lot of it comes down to player preference.
That's
Like
all it is player preference.
yeah, like Zorak Galissapod, I'd imagine most players are playing like the same 56 to 58 cards, but then just because Tord won EOIC with that 60 card deck doesn't mean that that's going to be the best 60 cards for your League Cup or the
Yeah,
best 60 cards for your playing style.
yeah, like hand down, I can easily like look at a list and be like, why would anyone play this with this?
Mm-hmm.
That's something that doesn't really work with my style.
Yep.
And I'd be like, okay, this list is fine, but I think playing with this, and this in the deck can actually just take it to a whole other level.
Yep.
Like for right now, as of right now, I'm pretty much like sold on the list I have.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things. At the moment, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
Type things. There might be a change or two I'm considering going into the next few cups. But I'm just knocking on wood that I can just at least just win one and then just sweat it and just take January off.
Yeah. So let's go back to talking about Hartford regionals. Um, Standard regionals. You played Gardevoir Sylveon. I played Gardevoir Sylveon as well. We tested a lot together and talked a lot about our card choices. Um, you're always the one that you'll really need to be sold on a tech because like you like consistency like we've been talking about, and that
Like,
really worked for you at Hartford where you got 34th place. You were super close to day 2. But you got top 64, which is nothing to laugh at. You got points from that, which was nice, and you did it because you went through the tournament with a consistent deck that worked and you knew how to play it.
yeah, there was only like I only made like one change from the Hartford list to the now list,
Yeah,
which I dropped the Curlia in favor for the Mime,
yeah,
which I don't really regret that because I felt like I could easily just live without the third Curlia in there.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because there was sometimes where I would just draw and be like, okay, it's there. I don't need this.
Yeah, and at Hartford, I went with a couple techs in place of some consistency cards, like the second Eevee and the second Sylveon. And I can't go back and say that the 2-2 Sylveon would have definitely helped me, because I lost to a few bad matchups that the Sylveon wouldn't have even helped. But still, the consistency is nice if you. Because, like, something that I feel like players learn over and over again is you can't tech for, like, 3+ decks if you're going to see them, like, once or maybe not even at all over the course of 9 rounds.
Exactly. And then if you just if you stockpile just a deck with all kinds of just text and all that stuff, you just take away from the consistency, and then you're preparing for a bunch of stuff that you may or may not even see.
Yeah, and especially that goes such a long way at League Cups, I think, because a League Cup 4 to 6 rounds usually if you're Swiss, usually 6 rounds where we are, but it's like you can't guarantee you're going to see an archetype more than once on the other side of the table.
Yeah, and also to be perfectly honest too, it's just like the last cup I was at, there was plenty of variety. The variety was actually there.
Hmm.
Even like the top eight had some variety.
Yeah, yeah, we had Vikabulu, Gardevoirs, Zoroark, Elisapod, Volcanion. I think there was a Silvally Steel in top 8, or a Steel
I don't think
toolbox.
that. Yeah, I don't think he ran Sylvalian his though. I think it was just like Reggie Steel and Metal Guys pretty
Okay,
much.
yeah,
Yeah, like
but
we're
a lot of
oh,
variety.
like the only duplicate deck was actually no, never mind. There was two Gardevoir and two Volcanion.
Yeah.
So I was about to say there was a bit. I mean, there was still the variety was still there though.
Oh yeah, and most of the time you're going to see variety at League Cups. Like even if in the next couple weeks of League Cups, players choose to play things that did well at Memphis, that's still like 5 different decks. You're going to be
Yeah.
seeing Buzzwole Lycan, you're going to be seeing Zoro Lycanroc, Zoro Gali, Decidueye Zoro.
Yeah. And like I'm one of those guys who really thinks Glycopod's gonna actually have a bit of a rise just because of like just about everything's running Lycanroc.
Yeah, I'm on the Gliscopod train as well. I'm testing Gliscopod Octillery, but that's another talk for another video.
Yeah.
So my last specific question I have for you is what 3 decks do you think you're going to be seeing the most at League Cups? Like if I asked you at our next League Cup, hey Sonny, what do you think? Name 3 decks that you're sure you're going to face today.
Well, I would say I'm just gonna like for me it's like I'm gonna basically group like the like any of the Lycanroc variants all in one like category of deck kind of.
Okay.
Like they can all just be like one category. Like someone's gonna be like because pretty much like Memphis is pretty much like an indicator of what would be seen.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said before, like I wouldn't be surprised if something like a Glycopod, like I was saying before, made some sort of rise up or whatever because I think that deck's pretty solid itself.
Yeah.
And the way people have been running that lately, and you can easily just because Lycanroc's weak the grass,
Yeah.
so it's like it
So is
becomes
that Galisopod Garb you're talking about?
um
Or just any Galisopod variant, really?
Lycopod. I mean the guard variant actually wouldn't be too bad to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I was never a fan of it myself, but But actually, if I recall correctly, I think Azul just ran the just the Garbotoxin ones, and he didn't run.
Correct.
Yeah, he didn't run Trash Lance
Yeah,
at
no
all.
trash lance, just the garb for the ability lock.
Which is like people like I know as of late they've been steering away from the Trash Lance because it's like okay, yeah, yeah, whatever.
Yep, it's people are ready for it, kind of.
Yeah, it's we're ready for it, and people were like at first it's like oh yeah, this card's like so broken or whatever, it's crazy, it's unbalanced, but no, the card was balanced. You just had to adapt,
Yeah.
and I think like in its own way, like Garb pretty much added something to the game. Like instead of just playing mindlessly like we have been, just to
Oh yeah.
take things easy.
Yeah, I said it from the moment Garb came out that it just made the game slower and more skillful because you would see players dropping 3 max elixirs, 3 trainers mail, 2 ultra ball in their first turn, and then Garb came out and you'd see them do the same thing, and then they would cry broken, and I'd say no, you just have to adapt your playstyle because a card came out that made you adapt your playstyle, and you could
And
still win.
yeah, and like this is why cards. Well, actually, I'm not gonna say it was. I was about to say like, oh, Garb made cards like Bridge popular, but no, that was actually Tapu Lele.
Yeah.
So just throw that idea out the window because it's
Same.
not true.
You could kind of say the same for Guardy with adapting your gameplay because if you're sitting across a Guardy player, you can't just load up your attacker with 3 energy and call it safe just because it has high HP. Because Guardy can put its infinite force damage up infinitely by the name of the attack and just hit for whatever number possible with all the energy.
Yeah, like I mean, like Gardevoir as a deck in general, that's not really like a mindless deck in itself. You actually do have to think.
Mm-hmm.
Like to be honest, like I've done like a lot of my like there's so much thinking that has to be done because a lot you gotta take in consideration, especially against the mirror. Like the mirror is just so skill based, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I really like the mirror for Guardy, granted that both players get somewhat set up. Uh, that can be said for any match, really. But as long as both players get set up, it's a really fun and really you really have to think.
Yeah, and for me personally, it's like I've tested like so much against the mirrors and all that stuff. Like I'm relatively that's why I'm like relatively comfortable with what I have, and I don't have really any time or not time. I don't really have any plans of really changing anything at the moment, just because like I said, I'm comfortable with it. So
Yeah,
why go some other
and it's
direction?
doing well for you. Like if you're topping at League Cups with it, why change? If you there's no reason to change the deck. Just keep playing it and just keep getting better with it if it's working for you.
Yeah, and everything I'm doing is like it's legitimate. Like I'm really doing it all myself.
Yeah, that's the best advice I could give for League Cups is um, for quarters 3 and 4 of last season and quarter 1 of this season. Each of those quarters, I stuck with one deck, and quarter 3 was Evil Tall Garb of last season, and I topped like 5 League Cups, I think, with Evil Tall Garb, and then the
Yep.
next quarter was Espeon Drampa Garb, and I topped like 3 with that, and then the next one was Guardy, and I topped 2 with that. And I think you just need to play the same deck as long as it's relevant for the meta, and
Which one?
if it's a good meta call.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but which one did you win? And you won like two of them though.
Yeah, with Evil Tall Garb, I got like 4 top 8s and a second, and then with Espeon Drampa Garb, I got a first and a second, and then this past quarter for this season, I got a first and a second with Guardy.
That's what I thought. I knew you had to do something with Guardy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
'Cause you and I,
So
we pretty much stuck with it for a while.
yeah, yeah. So this this whole talk just came off of one question, which was what 3 decks do you expect to see at League Cups the upcoming week? So name 3 off the bat. Go.
Like Rock variants, Glycopod variants, Gardevoir.
Okay, cool. Um, so yeah, Gardevoir. Are we gonna keep calling that tier 1? You think? Just because it didn't make top 8 at Memphis, some people might say it's gonna drop to tier 2, but tier
It's still,
one,
I think it's still tier one.
yeah,
I mean, it's like tier one, like in a general, it's like it's not like there's like a set number of how many decks can actually sit in a tier.
yeah. My personal description of tier 1 is something like a deck that I'm not surprised if it wins a tournament. It's a deck I expect to win tournaments, and I expect to see 1 or 2 of them across the tables from me at any given tournament.
exactly. Yeah,
And that sounds like Gardevoir to me.
yeah, sounds about right.
Okay, so thank you for coming onto the channel for this meta talk. Any shout outs or anything you want to say?
Shout outs. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna shout out Nerdvana Games and Comics. That's my
Awesome.
local store.
And
And
that's in Mays Landing, New Jersey.
Egg Harbor Township.
Okay, and
That
when
was like
is
the
the
first.
League Cup for that?
That's January. I must say the first Saturday in January.
Okay, so we are having a League Cup there for any
So
New Jersey area players watching this.
that was actually the first ever tournament that's past League Cup that I won. That was actually sporting their gear.
Oh, word. Okay.
And so it's like of course I had to like show them my love.
Yeah.
Shout outs to CLA's network, aka
Hello.
Loop, testing partners. Also to my other testing people like Joan. Gotta give Joan a shout out.
Yeah.
And also to Anthony Ballone,
And
Patrick Van Story,
yep.
and Evan Bennett.
Yep. All right. Cool. Cool.
I think yeah, that's it. Yeah.
All right. That's everything. Okay. Awesome. Well, thanks for coming onto the channel with me and talking, and I'll see you next time here on Celio's Network.